Android Studio session. The last time I made the perfect pitch application, or I started it, we used a constraint layout with some linear layouts within it. This time will be a continuation where we will randomize the content of the test. And in the video following, we will actually add the tones, the note tones. The way it'll be after today's session, it'll at least have randomized um, music note letter names generated for the test. And one could use it and play piano notes and have somebody, guess the notes. And then the goal is to actually have it emit a sound for each one to make it a full perfect pitch test. So as we can see here, we have our test, our layout. So if we go strictly to design, there you can see what it looks like. Right now it's a bunch of X's. Then our goal here today is to make them all random letter names. So here's our main activity where we're grabbing all those check boxes that right now have the X in them. Just to have a reference to them. So the first thing we want to do is create a new class, Kotlin class. Oh, it's not giving me the right menu because I'm in resources. Okay, so if we actually go where source code is supposed to be, then Kotlin class. What do we want to call it? I guess note assigner. Since this class, the goal is to assign notes to those checkboxes, or 4 of those checkboxes. There's a few ways to go about this. The way I'm going to organize it is I'm going to actually pass in the thing of the array list of checkboxes. Like so. When we let it autocomplete, it put the import statement up there for us, which is time saving and good. So now we want a bunch of note names. That would be, we'll make an array list of strings. I don't know if this is going to need to be a late init var, but for the time being. It'll be an array list string. It doesn't need to be a late in it because we can. There might be other initializations to do, and they can all go in it. Array list of. So the question is, how many of those do we need? 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 25 is how many we need. So we'll add those in like so. 7 times 3 is 21. So we need a couple more. Okay. So this is a array list of notes. And the reason I did it this way is I kind of want the same. I want the notes to appear the same amount of times. You know what though? The thing is, in this configuration, the E, F, and G would not occur quote unquote enough times. So let's we'll do more than 25. Just a, just a little bit more. We're gonna be shuffling that. Whether we need to do this or not is to be determined. Because it's going to be a late in it. Check boxes. Later, I'll determine whether I really needed to do this or not. Okay, now we need a function that'll assign notes to the checkboxes. It's a little bit of a lengthy name. If I think of a bit, I mean, this pretty much describes what it's going to do, though. So one of my biggest mistakes I always make is I write a function and I forget to call it. So let's just call it right away before implementing. I'll forget to call the function and then I'll compile and run and I'll say, why isn't it doing anything? So first we need to set an index. This Kotlin is a little bit of a different language than what I use from at work. So it takes my mind a little time to get back into it. Checkbox in checkboxes. Sometimes it bracket completes for me and sometimes it doesn't. Okay, so the first thing we want is to we want to shuffle. So now these will be in some random order. And then we'll say checkbox dot text. Another way to do this would have been to have this just return the shuffled list and then do this for loop in the main activity, kind of decoupling the UI from the logic a little better, but it's just a small little program and node assigner doesn't have a whole lot to do, so we'll just let it know about checkboxes. So we'll index. I think I can just say index plus plus. Mind you, that's sort of, I understand what it's doing, but that's kind of what I consider fancy trickery. Sometimes it's nicer just to be a little more one by one and explicit rather than being clever. Okay. Now this is gray, denoting that, hey, we're not using the class yet. So let's use the class. Typically, I like to initialize my classes as soon as possible. Well, except I can't do that, can I? See, this is the weakness of the way I'm doing it. My checkboxes list does have to be initialized first. This is the weakness, and now I might refactor it later, but just get it working first. I don't remember if I have a button. Yeah, I do have a button. Okay, I'm going to pop that listener down here. Kind of writing too much code here without testing. Anyway, when we press the button, we want it to assign the new notes. At this point, it should work. If it doesn't, this is about as much code as I would really want to write without building and testing. A lot of people who are learning or taking courses at school, their first mistake is to write tons and tons of code before they ever build or run it. Okay, so build was successful. Let's see if this thing crashes and burns, or if it actually occurs correctly the first time. Okay, well, we got random letters. Let's see if the button works. Okay, we don't really need that toast in there anymore, do we? I don't know that we need any of those toasts. This one we for sure don't need. I am button, hear me roar. This one I'll comment out. This is going to become a to-do, like to generate the note when you click it, which will be the subject of next video. We can just leave a little note to that effect. I'll keep the toast up there just so I kind of have this little piece of code handy to, that's going to be the parameter that we're going to send to our note player class function of the member function of the class. Show on this checkbox. Anyway, we appear to have a randomized test. So in the last video, we learned about the constraint and linear layouts, and then referencing all the UI elements within it. And then this time we learned how to make an array list of strings, randomize it, and then assign those to the checkboxes in a separate class, which is the way it should be. A lot of tutorials on the internet just literally put everything in main activity. That's not really how you want to organize code. Okay, anyway, so ends tonight's video. Have a good one.